Back to you, Mr. Eldridge, and this kind of leads us into this next question, and it begins with the front page of a Time magazine issue of about 8 weeks ago. Everyone in this room, every American, you, me, everyone you meet, everyone you see in this country owes $45,000 based on the debt. Your thoughts on reducing our $45,000 bill?
Well, you know, it is a tremendous problem. And let's start with diagnosing the problem. We've got almost $20 trillion in debt. We have seen it triple in the last 15 years. And anybody that stands up here and blames one party or the other for that needs to look at the record on that, because it doubled under a Republican president, it doubled again under a Democratic president. And both parties are to blame for the debt and deficit situation we are in. I can tell you what I would do. Day one, I would sit down with Republican senators and Democratic senators who are interested in this issue and say, how do we fix this? And I think that conversation is essential. Look, we all know that the federal budget is massive and has a whole variety of spending that needs to be discussed in it. The only way I know how to do that is to put all that on the table and go into a conversation with Republicans and Democrats and check the party labels at the door and say, how do we balance this budget? How do we pay down this debt? Because I don't want our kids having to deal with massive amounts of debt that our country can't pay. One specific thing that I think we need to do is pass the No Budget, No Pay Act. And that means that if Congress doesn't pass a budget by the time that it should every year, then members of Congress and senators don't get paid. I think they ought to be held accountable. There are lots of areas of federal government that should be cut. I can tell you, working in the Department of Justice, I was proud to do that work. But even within the Department of Justice, an agency that I know well, there are areas that I identified when I was there that I think should be cut or reduced. And I think that same analytical approach could be taken to every area of our government. And you know what? We can have a better government that is more responsible and more efficient and more accountable to the taxpayers. That's what I would advocate for.
All right. Mr. Gilbert, your response to that question?
Boy, it stole my thunder. It's the Republicans and the Democrats. Well, of course it is. And they together passed sequestration. Everybody screamed, both sides of the aisles, this is awful. Republicans said, we're going to cut the defense budget. This is disgusting, the Democrats said, we're going to cut USDA. Well, they cut it all a little bit, and they couldn't even live up to that. They canceled sequestration before it had run its term. Those people are not going to do the right thing. They've had 50 years to do the right thing. They are incapable of doing the right thing. And the only thing that the American people can do to get those senators together in a room to check their party labels at the door is start electing people like Frank Gilbert. There is nothing you can do in this election year that will make the entrenched elites in Washington, D.C. understand that something's happening out there in flyover land. One Libertarian senator can't do you much harm. If I'm as crazy as some of those folks that are already up there, there's not much I can do about it. But one Libertarian senator will put the fear of God in Democrats and Republicans, and friends, they need the fear of God, and we need them to have the fear of God.
Eldridge, you want to rebuttal?
Well, Frank and I certainly agree on a lot on this issue, but I want to highlight the one area, in fairness, that we probably do have a little bit of disagreement on, and the area that I think that Senator Boozman needs to be held accountable for. So, start with Senator Boozman. Anyone who's been in Washington for 15 years has had their chance to work on this, and the debt has tripled during that time. And I'm sure if he were here, he's put out press releases to say that. He's kind of hard to find, but he's put out press releases to say that you know, it's all somebody else's fault and blamed other people. Well, he's been there for 15 years. What proposal has he come up with? What has he done about it? It's time for something different. I don't believe in the panic approach to this, though. I was a prosecutor during sequestration. I don't think we need to set off economic panic. I do believe we need to have a better process that holds agencies accountable on the front end for their spending and has a more structured, analytical way to reduce spending in our government. That's what I would try to do.
Mr. Gilbert, your rebuttal.
I'm not panicked. I'm incredibly worried because our current debt is sustainable only because we have an artificial interest rate of less than 1% for the folks that are borrowing trillions of dollars of my children and grandchildren's future. If that goes up to 2%, then I panic. If it goes to 3% or above, we're all panicked. And folks, we're not going to be given the privilege and the opportunity to nibble on the front end of it. We are going to suffer economically in ways that Americans have not since the 1930s. The good thing is we've got time, a little time. But we don't have time to piddle, diddle, dawdle, and stall. It's time to act.
All right. Back to you, Mr. Gilbert. We'll start